Well, hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Robbie McHugh.
And I'm Lisa Girizzi. Welcome to our kickoff celebration for our 7th annual EMS Leadership Summit. Lucky number 7. It is so exciting to be here.
And we're excited to be with you all. If you're watching, wherever you're watching from, we are simulcasting across multiple networks right now. So feel free to drop a comment in the chat. We have a green room full of speakers that are going to be with us, just kicking this event off. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to be live every night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Tonight is our kickoff. We're doing our daily debriefs for day number 1 tomorrow, May 12th through the 16th. So the next 6 nights, we're going to be live with you here. If you haven't already, you can get your free pass at emsleadershipsummit.com. We've had over 2,000 people already register before the event even begins. And usually we see a lot more people register throughout the week.
Yes, it has been quite busy these last couple of days with people registering and very exciting. A lot of new speakers, some returning speakers, but certainly very, very hot topics with the survey last year's 2025 EMS One What Paramedics Want survey being sort of the central theme of what paramedics want, and we asked our speakers to really focus on those areas so that we could serve folks and what they're dealing with right now.
What we saw in this recent What Paramedics Want EMS One survey was that burnout reached the number 1 top concern on the minds of leaders and frontline providers. So we were fortunate enough to work with EMS One to take these survey results and really dig into the number 1 issue, burnout, as well as other issues around recruitment, retention, funding, leadership, what we love to talk about. Lisa and I are the co-hosts of the EMS Leadership Summit. We're also the co-founders of the EMS Leadership Academy. And you can find more information about us and all the folks behind this summit at our virtual exhibitor hall at emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit. But we're excited to partner with EMS One and Lexipol to pose this question to multiple industry experts and really get their take on what we can do at both a systems level and an individual level to begin to address these issues.
Yeah, and I think before we go too much further, it's really important for us to thank our sponsors who really make this possible. We're able to offer this for free, and our sponsors are a large part of why we're able to do that. So, we can briefly go over the exhibit hall. Sorry, I got distracted. The exhibit hall, or we could do that now, or if you want to just sort of highlight some of the sponsors.
Well, let's jump in again, emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit. Let's give people an orientation. This week, our sessions will stream and premiere daily. So if you visit the exhibit hall, you can access those free sessions. Each day, you'll have 24 hours to access that day's lineup of sessions. We have a full PDF schedule in our event playbook here. So you can actually download at emsleadershipsummit.com/playbook. There is a PDF you can download or print out, like I printed out, and see all of the sessions and the speakers and the lineup this week. But you can access your free sessions now. If you wanted to upgrade for a small fee for NEMSMA approved continuing education credits, use the All Access Pass portal and the login. That gives you unrestricted access or lifetime access to all of our speaker sessions as you develop your leadership library. But again, thanks to our sponsors, the folks at BD, Pyxis by MedBank, as well as VR Patients. You can click in and explore the sponsor booths. We have AIM Software and Systems here, as well as Ninth Brain. So any of these booths you can just dive into here and learn more about the latest with their products, case studies, peer-reviewed journals, and published articles about different topics. Some of them are sponsoring a lunch and learn this week, which we'll talk about in a little while, that for the first 100 people who register and attend for this special lunch and learn, we've got one on Friday at 1 p.m. and we've got one on Thursday at 1 p.m. Lunch will be provided. links to our sponsors, and you'll get a Grubhub voucher for attending. So first 100 people who register and attend for that event.
Yes, and we highly encourage people to explore these booths. But as Robbie said, booth number 1 is really, you're going to go there every day for free pass holders to access the sessions for that day. You'll get an email every morning with the link to go there, and it's, you'll have 24 hours, as Robbie said, to view the 5 sessions that are released every day.
Great. All right. Well, I think a few people that are actually on day 1 are in the green room. Lisa, should we just start bringing just a few people in?
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's see. I'm going to bring in 2 people here. We've got Lillian Bonsignor, the new FDNY Fire Commissioner. Welcome, Lillian. Thanks for being here.
Oh, you're muted, Lillian. Oh, there you go.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
I'm also going to bring in Scott Moore. Scott, welcome back to the EMS Leadership Summit. You both are returning speakers, and we're happy to have you back. You're both featured on day number 1, so we're excited for people to watch those sessions.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. Appreciate it.
Well, it's lots of exciting times everywhere, so we're just happy to have people who are in the thick of it to share your expertise with our audience. So anything you want to share about, what you're most excited about this year with the summit, or anything you're noticing that you're hoping that the summit will address for people?
You mind?
No, please do.
All right. Well, first, congratulations. It's 7 years. So that's pretty impressive. You guys are doing a terrific job. And, I'm glad we're talking about some of the tough issues. I think this year we're talking about a lot of different things, including the challenges that EMS is facing right now, and maybe some ideas about how to move forward together. So I'm excited about hearing everybody's ideas of how we're going to strengthen EMS moving forward.
Very good. Us too. That's what we were hoping for with presentations, and that's certainly what the lineup has demonstrated, that people identifying the issues, but really offering concrete, actionable ideas for moving forward. How about you, Scott, our longtime speaker?
Yeah, well, congrats on 7 years. It's funny, and I think I've done many of them, if not all of them.
6.
But yeah, and I'll say I remember, and I say this to you guys every year. I remember saying, like, a virtual event? Are you kidding me? And then of course COVID hit, and you guys really, I was just talking to someone a few minutes ago, and I said it's the most well-produced event I've ever done, and your command of not only the platform and then bringing people in is just amazing. But it's funny, I was thinking back to 1990 when I started, and I remember someone would say burnout, and the folks would say that's nonsense. There's no such thing as burnout. So it's great to see the focus on provider wellness and recognizing the fact that you just can't do this job for any number of years without some sort of impact. And so I think it's wonderful that you're focusing on that topic for much of this event.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, we really wanted to pay attention to what people are saying they need, and certainly a lot of expertise out there looking at this, as Robbie said, from both a systems and an individual level. And, our theme this year is the power of leadership to build a sustainable future. And we really wanted to focus on that, the power of leadership, and have individuals really feel like, oh, we can do something about this. We can begin to work together, as you said, Lillian, to create a different future for EMS.
Maybe, Lillian, if you could talk a little bit about, for folks, obviously they haven't seen your presentation yet. I've heard you interviewed a few times on a few different podcasts, Responder Resiliency podcast. We've got Rob Lawrence and EMS One Stop podcast. You've been talking about your first 100 days in office as the fire commissioner for FDNY. you want to give people a little bit of preview of what to look forward to in your session that's going to premiere tomorrow?
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me again. And I probably talk way too much, so you could look forward to that. But I am the first EMS person to ever have gone up through the ranks in FDNY and make it to the level of commissioner. So it's been an interesting transition. You know, the last 100 days, my first 100 days, has really been about transitioning not only myself from a more tactical brain to one of which now I have to run an entire organization, including fire, our civilians, and EMS, not just EMS. So switching that mode, not only for me, but for everybody in the department. So I've spent much of my time going out and talking to people and getting to know them and getting to hear what their concerns are, and maybe putting their minds at rest a little about having an EMS person in charge. You know, it's a strength. It's not something that is a negative. I do understand the job right from the granular level. I spent 31 years in their uniform, standing right next to them at the scene. So, you know, this is something that we're all going to transition in together. And I think we're going to solve lots of problems and do a lot of good things. But what we really want is to establish ourselves for the next, 50 years of service. So, this is about reevaluating our circumstance, addressing some of the more difficult situations, and whether we solve them or not, we still address them, right? Because you can't ignore the big problems. And then moving forward together as an agency, I'm really excited to be in the presence of such extraordinary people every day.
I love that. And I love that collaborative approach that you take. It's really refreshing to see that being not just talked about, but actually lived. It's really great.
Thank you.
If I can, I think back to I was part of an honor guard back in the mid 90s, and I got to attend every year the EMS Memorial in Roanoke. And I remember attending with the FDNY or New York City EMS at the time when they were in green uniforms. And it was at the time, I think second or third year I was there, they were transitioning over to FDNY. And I remember there was a lot of apprehension. There was a lot of concern. And I know it hasn't been the easiest of roads, but I'm thrilled to see you in that role, because I just think it's a recognition of, much of what happens in the fire service these days is primarily EMS. And not to say that there aren't still fires. I've been a firefighter for 18 years, but I will say that the majority of what we're doing is EMS based. And my fire chief's motto was, we help the people. And so that, whether that's, in a fire suppression mode or, technical rescue or EMS, I think it's fabulous. And I watched your session today, and I will say, I liked this wasn't on my bingo card. And I thought, man, I agree. Amen to that. I mean, that's number one. Yeah.
I thought I successfully retired. I didn't expect to go back into the job, but I was a green and white back in 1991 is when I started with the city. So, it's been a long time. We just celebrated our 30th year as one department. Just in March 17th, 1996 was the day we merged. And most people will refer to it as a shotgun wedding, but it was a difficult time. But 30 years later, here we are. We have our first EMS paramedic who is now sitting at the commissioner's desk, and surrounded by incredible people who really are not bothered by that. Most of the bother came from outside the department. Inside the department, these people are extraordinary, and they're here to serve the people, and I'm happy to do it next to them.
Yeah, they just want to know that you're there for them.
Yeah,
that you're all in it together, and
that's right.
That's awesome. That's
great. They don't care where you came from; they just care that you care.
That's right. Right? So, that's right.
And it is exciting to see that you have a boss that is so excited for caring for the people in the system. I mean, I feel like that's what's come through in your presentation. That's what's come through in a lot of you talking and sharing about the experiences of this mayor, and the mayor who, he obviously realizes the systemic issues, and he tapped you for that position because for several reasons, but not only your experience, but the opportunity, I think, for what a lot of people are looking for in the department. And And hopefully that comes down to pay parity and equity and people feeling taken care of. I mean, as leaders, that's one of the best things we can do is convey how much we care for the people in our system. So we're excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, we have a couple of other speakers in the green room, so we're going to bring
pop out for you two for just a little while. Thanks again for being here, for celebrating this kickoff. We're going to have daily debriefs throughout the rest of the week. And as a little bit of an announcement and surprise, folks can actually watch day one sessions starting right now. So they don't have to wait till tomorrow morning. They can go out and check Lillian's fantastic presentation from day number one. They can check out Scott's presentation, as well as our whole lineup of speakers premiering on day number one. So thanks again for being here, Lillian and Scott. We appreciate you being here to celebrate with us.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. See you soon, Scott.
Thanks.
And let me just say to the viewers, if you want to comment on whatever platform you're watching, you can comment, you can ask questions. We'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. So please feel free to put that in the comments of wherever you are watching.
All right. And again, folks, check out the virtual exhibitor hall over at emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit. And you'll be able to check out all of our, not only our great sponsors, but our lineup in addition to the playbook. So I know I'm holding this printout up, but you've got a full schedule in here, as well as some great articles that were written. One by David Daniels, who's in the green room, and we'll be bringing him out shortly. Dr. Carol Cunningham. They put together some excellent content that we featured in this playbook, as well as a full lineup of speakers and our lunch and learn activities for the week.
All right. Well, we're getting a few comments. Please let us know where you're watching from. We have people registered from all over the world. Over the course of our 7 years, up until this year, we had over 20,000 participants from more than 44 countries. So we love to hear from people around the world. So shall we bring in a couple more people?
Yeah, let's bring in David and Alexia. They're both on our day number 2 lineup. So David, welcome back to the EMS Leadership Summit. Happy number 7. You've been with us every single time here, and we are thrilled to have you back.
Lucky me.
No, lucky us. I think that's why we've been so successful. We've had David on the sponsor. I mean, on the dais, as they say.
And also bring in Alexia Jobson, joining in from Remsa Health. Alexia, part of our comms panel that's been back with us now for over 5 years. So thanks for joining in on our kickoff tonight and celebrating. You're in a panel lineup with Mark Tenia, Rob Lawrence. So we've got our all-star comms and PR folks premiering a session with day number 2.
Yes.
So thanks again for being here. We're interested to hear what you're both excited about. I mean, we've talked about these systemic issues of burnout. Each of you have put together presentations from the internal PR and comms perspective. David talking about psychological safety and the myths that lead to burnout. But we're happy to have you back and featured this week again. So David, any remarks or what you're excited about here with this summit?
It's kind of getting to the point that this time of year, I'm expecting that there's going to be some great stuff coming from the summit. Not only do I enjoy having the opportunity to share myself, but to hear from the speaker lineup is always very cool. I haven't been active in EMS for a while, but what I'm finding is it doesn't matter how long you were in or out. The issues seem to be the same. I've told people that kind of outside the system, you can leave the system and go do something for 5 or 10 years and go back, and it's probably going to be the same because it doesn't change much. It's still about helping people. It's still about helping your community, but it's also got some of the same issues. I mean, the issues haven't changed that much. There are still lots and lots of folks who have been placed into leadership roles, but they've been beaten up themselves. They've been traumatized themselves. They've been, misunderstood themselves, and then they kind of perpetrate that on other people. It's like they have a cold and they keep spreading it to other people without recognizing that they have it themselves. and there's all this conversation about helping the public and helping the community and, you know, helping the government and all that type of thing. And we forget sometimes that these are human beings themselves, and they also need lots of help. And so I'm, you know, as much as I, you know, talk about psychological and psychological safety and psychosocial hazards and such, I think it's important to recognize that these are real things that affect and impact real human beings who are also in leadership roles. They don't have a cape. You know, they don't. They can't fly. They can't, you know, and sometimes they're given credit for working harder than everybody else. That's part of the problem. You know, I'll say it's no. I'll pass the baton. 59% of leaders in a recent survey suggested that they're burnt out. So if the leaders are burnt out, 71% of, you know, middle managers are burnt out. So what is it that you think that they're passing on to other people? We can only give to others out of our abundance, either positive or negative. And we give that abundance to other people. We're so burned out, we burn other people out. And we lead other people down the path of burnout. So it's a great conversation to be having.
And we're excited too for your book, Psychosocial Hazards Are Real. And we love that you constantly bring that, not only the physical safety aspect, but the psychological safety aspect of what leaders can look for in their organizations. I think so many times people are focused on what's right in front of them. They're kind of missing the invisible, you know, hazards that are present. So that's what we love about you. The ingredient you bring to these conversations, I think, is just critical.
Yeah, and housing it inside safety is such a, I think, what's the word I want? More palatable. Is that the right way to say it? Like, just people, you know, who's not interested in safety, right? Like, so I think that's very.
One would think.
One would think, right? But it's just great to have you, David, and your expertise, and we appreciate you so much being our partner in all of this. So thank you.
It's cool to be an OG in something too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, Alexia, what are you excited about with the summit this year? I mean, bringing in the perspective of comms, and you know, you're in a fairly large organization dealing with a lot of issues. So,
yeah,
you're coming in with that perspective.
So I just listening to David talk there about burnout. I know one of the things that I think Mark and Rob and I talked about a little bit in our panel is the idea of when EMS is telling its story, which I am always passionate about doing and helping agencies tell their story, is that we need to be sharing an accurate representation of what our clinicians, our paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers are doing on a day-to-day basis. And that we, you know, that there's, I work with someone who says he can probably count on one hand the number of times that he really saved someone from the grips of death. And that a lot of time, his shifts consisted of, you know, holding someone's hand or, you know, helping them, you know, clean up after an emergency with a family member and things like that. And so I think that being able to tell those true stories about the real incredible work that providers do every day will help people come into this profession with a more accurate sense of what it is that they're going to be doing. And hopefully they will find satisfaction and, you know, choose to stay on in this organization or in this profession longer term because it's what they're expecting. And so I think that the idea between preventing or repairing burnout goes hand in hand a lot of times with the communications that we do about EMS.
Absolutely. And we have EMS Week coming up next week.
Next week.
So it is upon us. And during your panel, we discussed the different tools that people can be using to prepare not only for this EMS Week, but the next EMS Week, and capturing those emotionally connecting stories that really do move the public and educate people. I'd like to also bring in David Dashinger because David mentioned our other David, David, welcome. The idea of perpetuating those cycles of trauma that happens in organizations. And David, that goes right into your work with responder resilience. It goes into your recent book, Helping the Helpers, and something Bonnie and you discussed during your presentation.
Yeah, thanks. And congrats, Robbie and Lisa, for 7 years of making this happen. It's a great service to our profession, so it's much appreciated. part of what we get to do, and this is my retirement chapter, is talk to great people. And we've done over 240 episodes that got distilled into the book, but we start to see that there's, a pattern emerges, right? There's a gap between the first responders who are taught that strength is suffering in silence, essentially, and that there's clinicians that want to help us, but they don't necessarily understand our world. So how do we close that gap? I think part of what leadership needs to do moving forward is to be familiar with the resources that are out there and understand how to use them, how to refer people to them when they're struggling. We're really good about, we'll do a shootout with tourniquets before we buy them, and stock them on the rig. But how often do we do sort of like proactively vet the resources that we need for mental health and other support before we actually need them and need to refer them? So I think part of what we're looking at is shifting the conversation from the trauma to, okay, what tools are out there? How do we put them into play? Which ones are going to work the best? And which ones do we know are actually going to understand our world?
Yeah, and tactics and strategies. I mean, you just packed your session, you and Bonnie, with tactics and strategies that people can use, which I so appreciated about being able to record that with you guys.
Yeah.
So
I also wanted to just say, Dr. Cunningham, Carol Cunningham, couldn't be with us tonight. She's hopefully going to join us on day 3, I believe, is her. But she's talking about stoicism and how it's killing EMS, and this idea of capes and heroes. And I think it really speaks to what all of you are talking about, is this misrepresentation of who you need to be in as a first responder. I mean, I don't think it's only in EMS, but that whole world of, tough it out, suck it up, and the system has really done a disservice, in my opinion, to the people who are serving others. And I think that, it's such an important topic, and there are so many things, easy way. I don't mean easy. I don't mean it, simple ways of impacting this. And I'm really hoping that as people watch these sessions, that's what they're listening for, is, what can I do in this moment? What can I do today? Right here, right now, not wait for the whole industry to change, not wait for this story to be told differently, but what can I do right now, for myself and for the people I lead?
I think what's also...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think one of the things that's really important to remember too is the amount of times that somebody has to be presented with information before they start to remember and realize that something may be available to them. A couple of years ago in our organization, we did an employee survey, and we asked specifically about the mental health resources that we had available to people. And it was shocking to see how few resources they knew about, even though we had so many things available to them. And so we really, for a year, really focused on making sure that those resources were accessible, available, that we posted on our internal communication about them repeatedly, that we had leaders speaking about them at different opportunities, that we had handout material that could go to them. We had our embedded clinician rounding, just talking about these resources for mental health. And so I think, it has to be in front of them many, many times, especially when you're talking about the fact that they may not be in a place at the end of a shift or at the end of a week to be open to receiving that information. And so I think it's just really important as a communicator I would use that opportunity to remind people to tell them again, and then tell them one more time.
And if I could, not only do we need to tell them, we need to show them. Yes. And as much as important as David's work is regarding building resiliency in the people, there are many cases when I'm not sure why we're making them resilient to that thing. There's some things that are still going on in the industry. People shouldn't have to be resilient to that. I mean, there's a conversation going on across the certainly the fire rescue service and EMS as well, about things like shift schedules. Why is it that we still have people working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week and then wondering why they aren't resilient enough? Why do we have them working so much? Why do we have them putting in so much time? I'm of the opinion, I haven't seen folks necessarily do this, but I'm of the opinion that, first responders ought to be on a pitch count like a baseball pitcher. Perhaps we should, once they've hit an X number, we have to just pull them off altogether and send them to do something else. Human beings are not designed to go through some of the things that we go through as first responders. They aren't. And no amount of building us up is going to make that normal. It just isn't. It's just going to continue to tear us down and make us more stoic and make us things that we really weren't designed to be. So let's, make, and you have to do both. You have to do both. Well, we also have to have the courage as leaders to take on some of these things we've just been doing for God knows how long that really aren't healthy for the human beings that are doing the work.
Yeah, spot on, David. Definitely both individual issues and systemic issues. Tomorrow's session, Andrew Holter, who is an organizational psychologist, actually breaks down strategies. He's got some amazing visuals that I think will really relate to how to convey these ideas of how do we insulate our people? How do we look from a systems level to change? If we want different outcomes, we have to change the system, right? The system's producing the exact results it's designed to produce. Most of those systems, they were all inherited. We were just handed an organization. And as managers, as leaders, we're doing our best to keep that organization together or to not fall apart, rather than intentionally designing, think about that ideal future and try to redesign the system so that we get new results. And David, I love that you're talking about like questioning these firmly held beliefs. And a lot of our presentations this week are really diving in and encouraging other leaders to do that. And that takes some courage.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited for people to see this year's lineup. I mean, we've had tremendous sessions every year. I mean, so everyone, it's always been an honor. But this year, I've just really been present to the, like you just said, willingness to go, okay, let's question everything. Let's put everything up there on the table and see, is this really working? And is there a better way? And I think that's really not only courageous, but I hope people are listening to these sessions, like getting curious as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So final remarks from this panel. Again, thanks for being here for our kickoff. We're going to bring some other speakers in here in a moment and highlight some other sessions that people can look forward to over the next 5 days. But as we said, you can go to emsleadershipsummit.com and you can start watching sessions that are going to premiere for day number 1 in the lineup. So David, final remarks or what to look forward to?
Which David?
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
Dr. David or Lieutenant David, which is it?
Lieutenant David. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think, Robbie, what's exciting is that, and we've seen this in the arc of our podcast over 6 years, is we've gone from telling the trauma story and talking about smashing the stigma to now we're looking at post-traumatic growth. We're looking at changing and improving systems using existing and new technology. But most importantly, just changing the culture around asking for help where it's not a weakness. And I think that's what makes this exciting. There's some new leaders coming through who are ready to model that behavior, and that makes it even more exciting. So I'm just thrilled to see where we're going, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, thank you for that, Lieutenant David. And how about Dr. David Daniels?
Well, again, I'm just honored to be going on the ride with you all again. This is such an important effort, and as the other David mentioned earlier, this is the right thing to be doing for right now. It is. This is the thing to be doing for right now, because there are a lot of folks who are starting to recognize that asking for help is not a bad thing. It isn't, and they're looking for more of it. That's the challenge. Is there's some conferences I stopped going to years ago because they were saying the same things and kind of encouraging people to take the kind of risk that I wasn't willing to take anyway. And it's so refreshing now to see that there are opportunities like this that are challenging convention, that are bringing diverse voices, that are bringing, cutting edge and literally bleeding edge in some cases, which is important. That's how we progress, not only as industries, but as human beings, is pushing the envelope and seeing what'll work. A lot of the things that we did worked well then. They just don't work well now. And it's great to have this environment where it's okay to be one of those wild-eyed optimists and one of those folks who believes that things can be better. So I just appreciate every year the opportunity to come and hang out. And I'm going to go start checking out some sessions myself. I didn't know they were available today, so I got some other stuff to do.
Dr.
great.
David, thank you. And Alexia, final
Yes.
thoughts and kickoff.
First, thank you for including a communications panel in your lineup of incredible speakers. Just looking through the options, I'm excited to watch about workforce development, about building capacity for research in EMS. I think that's a really exciting one. Mentorship, system design that makes sense. I mean, the content that you have put together here is really incredible and such a resource. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for including public relations in that, because absolutely we need to be telling our story cohesively and productively. And so anytime that I can go deep and talk about how public relations works in this profession, I'm thrilled to do that and to share that information. And I am excited. I am also about to click through and start watching some things. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for helping us train a bunch of more leaders on how to get excited about, how we can tell our story better and can improve that future for us all. So Alexia, David, thanks for being here, and we'll see you throughout the week.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
I just love all of our speakers.
I know. And we have more to bring on, but should we do a quick reminder for folks? If you're just joining us, please feel free to put in the comments where you're joining us from, and anything you'd like to say about what you're most excited about for the summit this year. We encourage you to go to emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit, and you can check out this beautiful exhibitor hall. It's very interactive, and I want to acknowledge Robbie. Every year he just blows me away the way he puts this together, and just every single booth has something that you can go and get information. You can sign up for individual conversations with people at some booths, and sign up for all kinds of cool stuff. And also we have 2 lunch and learns this week. This is something we started a couple of years ago. We didn't know how it was going to go, but great.
They are well attended. People, they do sign up, and we all know in healthcare that food does bring people, and even in the virtual space.
Yes.
The first 100 people that sign up and show up for that event, for either of those events, we're doing $20 Grubhub vouchers, so you can order lunch at your convenience. And yeah, special thanks to both VR patients and the BD, the Pyxis MedBank BD team. There's a lot in the news with evolving DEA regulations that have come out for the Protecting Patient Access to Emergency Medications Act. So really excited that BD was able to coordinate Dr. Clayton Kazan from the Los Angeles County Fire Department medical director, and he could share his experience over the last decade of how they've brought pharmacists in to help them with their medication management, not only from a budget perspective, but also a compliance perspective. And then VR patients, they've got a really neat platform. Talk about the innovators. When Nadine Levick gives her keynote every year talking about EMS safety and innovation, this is the company that she noted several years ago that was on the horizon of what to look out for. The build your own simulation company. If you can create a PowerPoint deck, you can create your own simulation with no code. She gave us a preview of this years ago, and then here they are.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, here they are just demonstrating how they are using now AI to work on affective domain skills. So how your provider, even from a web browser, no expensive technology, but even from a web browser, how your provider interacts with a simulated patient, tone and language can influence how that AI patient responds. So can you de-escalate a patient? It's really cool stuff that they're putting together. So certainly check out the Lunch and Learn booth. But I want to highlight a couple of our other great supporters. Citizen CPR Foundation, Resuscitation Academy, sharing a booth, talking about the 10 steps for improving sudden cardiac arrest survivability. You can click on these elements and you can download their PDFs. really great resources in here for EMS leaders, as well as the panel discussion about challenging sudden death, which I think it's important that any EMS leader watches and really, absorbs what's possible when you study, when you record and report your cardiac arrest numbers, and how you can create more survivors. We have FASE, the patient handling and safety experts, the founders of the Binder Lift, putting handles on humans, their Binder Lift transfer device. But the FASE company also has educational programs in there to teach providers how to safely lift and move patients. It's usually not what we're taught in clinical settings, and they're really focused on making sure that they have the tools and the education on how to lift, move, slide patients, because it's a lot of what we do. And if we can prevent injuries, all the best, all the better. We mentioned AIM software and services. If you're interested in a demo and a free billing assessment, this software company, they have services for billing, and they also provide the software to organizations that want to bring that in-house. And they've got some case studies here to check out. So make sure you check out AIM and
Ninth Brain.
Yep, Ninth Brain. They've got an entire suite of tools to help optimize your organization's operations and logistics. So we so appreciate the Ninth Brain company for their support over the years. And they also have some information in our playbook here for organizations to check out, from their learning management system, creating forms and checklists, workforce scheduling, safety management system. So if you're at all in an accreditation space, Ninth Brain has a suite of tools to help you.
Can I just say one thing about Ninth Brain that I think is really cool for all of us who are very, very busy? You really want to check out Ninth Brain, because they have figured out some real cool streamlining stuff that just takes some things that are heavy time consuming things, and just makes them so much easier. So I would highly encourage people to sit down with them and do a free consult. They really have a lot that they're providing.
And our next speakers that we're going to bring in here shortly, we're talking about NEMSMA, National EMS Management Association, as well as the International Journal of Paramedicine. So in the green room, we have the editor of the International Journal of Paramedicine. So we'll go ahead and bring him in just a moment. Let's see. As well as some folks from our international audience. We've got Duncan McConnell. Duncan, it's always great to have you joining us from the future. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's always good coming in from the future.
At least we know there is a tomorrow.
There is.
For those of you who don't know.
My wife and I flew down to see Back to the Future, the musical, in Sydney. And we actually went forward in time to see it. And then we went back in time to come back to Brisbane because of daylight saving. So did a bit of time travel earlier this year.
We should have done a presentation on that. That's for sure.
All right.
Exactly.
And it looks like I had mentioned the editor. So Mick Gunderson actually had to step away. He was in our green room, but he is featured this week with a presentation. He is also the editor of the International Journal of Paramedicine, and they're in the EMS Quality Academy. Mick is a wealth and abundance of knowledge, so we certainly appreciate his involvement. But Duncan, you want to let us know what are you excited about with this week's summit and this week's lineup? I mean, give us the international perspective here on burnout and EMS systems. No pressure.
Well, one thing I did notice before when Dr. David was having a chat in relation to like that support and things that are going on here in Australia at the moment, we've got a senator down in South Australia called Senator Andrew McLean, and he's really likening some of the burnout comparison to sort of like, we've got things available for like our returned servicemen and active servicemen and women, but there's nothing there for your paramedics. And he's really championing that through our federal level of government at the moment. And it's becoming quite bipartisan. So both sides, and I know that's rare that both sides agree with each other, but it's good to see that kind of activity happening in that space. And yeah, I mean, it's always great to see people like Scott. I think Scott and I have both done 6 now. So it's always cool catching up with him. And yeah, that was really cool seeing that Lillian has been promoted. Her presentation last year, that was really cool. So looking forward to seeing that. And now that I know that they're live, I won't get distracted writing my thesis today and going off and watching these instead. But yeah, look, it's always exciting attending this, because you just see so many things from so many different places. Yet when you break it all down, we are basically all singing off the same song sheet, just in different parts of the world. We're all struggling with the same problems. And we're all sort of fighting them in different ways. And conferences like this enable us to learn from each other and continue to collaborate, and look at ways in which we can all achieve moving forward.
Well, Duncan, you mentioned this being very similar issues across the world, and you are featured on day number 4 with Mike Emmerich. Mike is a 40-year paramedic talking about vicarious trauma, but he talks about, from his work in South Africa, how you could almost copy and paste the report that we found, based in the States, with what he's experienced in systems at a local level, and the issues from the rural services that they're actually dealing with as well. So
I would say it'd be the same here too.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your work. You're doing a PhD thesis, and you've done some work in other systems and developing systems.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to sort of travel around the world, sort of working in that space. One of them was the Maldives. It was really difficult to work in the Maldives. Let sand and sun and beautiful seafood. But yeah, probably the most work I've done was in Mongolia, and sort of working with them across their emergency medical system response. And they're a little bit unique in that they have a health department, they have their fire department, and they have the military that sort of all do a similar response depending on where they are in the country. And sort of working with those 3 agencies has sort of been the focus of my thesis, and looking at ways in which we can improve the current capabilities and capacities and enable that to grow and become sustainable as they sort of modernize towards different ways and evidence-based practice that's used around the world today. And I think a key aspect of that too is that when working with these locations is not to do what's often referred to as parachute projects, where you sort of come in, you sort of drop in like you're on a parachute, provide all these words of wisdom, ask for lots of money, and then you run away. I think what's key with the work that I've been doing is that it's focused on listening to what the people need and want, and then working with them on achieving those immediate goals, medium goals, and long-term goals. So ultimately, you in yourself become redundant so that the system can take over and continue to grow and be sustainable. And that's something I've seen across the locations I've been working at. And hopefully the thesis, which should be completed by the end of this year, so it'll be Dr. Duncan next year, hopefully, will be able to sort of provide another doctor. Yeah, I just want my floppy hat. But hopefully this work can be utilised in other low to middle income country regions for them to be able to implement a similar change process, which ultimately is about improving patient care capabilities and healthcare system reform for people that are less fortunate than what we have in the locations where we work.
Wow, that's really great. Great work. And
thank you.
Really looking forward to hearing more about that. And I know our session, or I should say your session, but I interviewed you.
We were both there.
Really talked about education and the impact of that on folks in this world of EMS. Is there anything you want to say about that conversation that you'd like people to know about?
I think one of the things that we both agreed on, and we were sort of nodding simultaneously when I said it, it's often the forgotten child of EMS or emergency service operations or structures. It's sort of the one that everyone goes to last when everything else goes wrong, where if it's actually taken with a more forward step and making it a key aspect as important as operational response, like when the 911 or in my case 000 call comes in, I think organisations that take that approach are the ones that have the better staff retention, the better staff happiness, and the better overall system control and movement when it's actually given the priority it needs, so that you're not constantly playing chase up. You shouldn't be a reactive service. Yes, we do, so to speak, when the emergency call comes in, but there's aspects within every service where you don't need to be reactive. You can be proactive, and it doesn't take that much to be on the forward step with that. And I think a key part that I've seen around the world really is that the organisations that put education in the same level as the other things that are deemed important, they're the groups that have the best staff satisfaction, the best response rates, and overall the system is just running like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. Well, there's certainly a correlation, I think, between education and a sort of feeling safe and secure, and that you have what you need. I mean, obviously, in this world, in this field, there's always stuff you're not going to know, but there's a certain grounding that, that provides that I think is essential.
And given this is a Leadership Academy summit that we're talking about, like, you wouldn't put a critical care or flight paramedic inside a helicopter or a critical care transport truck without all that preloading and learning to enable them to perform safe, adequate, and competent patient care. So why do we plonk someone in a leadership role without any of the training or capabilities to do that? I still scratch my head when I see it, and to this day I see it everywhere. And I'm not alone here in Australia. I see it everywhere.
We do too.
Oh, Robbie's muted.
You're muted, Robbie.
Of course I am. It is very frustrating to see organizations that don't build that bench of leaders or invest in people ahead of time, and they kind of throw them into the wild, and they promote them because they were a really good provider, and they don't give them the tools necessary to help deal with people. The 98% of what we do, which is not life or death.
And they're often phenomenal providers. They're phenomenal. They're amazing with that, and the organisation provides them with plenty of skills to get the clinical stuff to like that tip of the spear, and then they just think, oh yeah, they're good at that, so they'll be good at this. I don't need to give them anything; they'll work it out.
Well, along the lines of training and development, I'd love to bring in another speaker, and that is
100% nepotism. It's my husband.
That is Bill Geruzzi. Bill, welcome. You are the Director of Training for New York State's Department of Environmental Conservation. But here we're talking about this idea of how do you train and develop people? I mean, this is right up your alley in the work that you've done, which is why we're excited to feature a talk about your work at DEC.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to be here. I mean, I've been watching this from the background for the last 6-7 years, and so it's fun to finally be participating in it on this level. And so I mean, I think leaders, in my experience, I mean, I just had over 40 people apply to a leadership development program that I offer, and I meet with one person one-on-one for 3 days, and they're all dealing with the same things. I mean, I'm listening to it here, and it's obviously it's different context, it's different severity. The EMS professionals are seeing something that the everyday person doesn't have to see, and they're all trying to struggle with how to deal with burnout and how to deal with doing more with less, and all the things that come with just trying to solve the problems and fulfill on their commitments. And so I think of it as, and I touched on this a little bit in my presentation, so I'll give a little bit of a preview. I think it's about discovering what's already there that allows us to lead. It's not bringing in new capacities. We're already built to lead. And I just find more and more when I work with someone, the more they discover that, it's like eye-opening. And so I'm really excited for my presentation to share that work.
I am too.
But it is exciting. It's an example, I think, that people don't see is such a large organization, a large state, a large organization, and they realize the value of investing in leadership training and development for people.
That's right.
It doesn't seem as foreign. I mean, I'd imagine when you first started talking about this or doing this work, maybe it was a little bit foreign for people, or?
It was definitely foreign for people when I started. It was also a huge learning curve for me. It's like I I sort of just threw my hat over the wall with it. And I didn't know what I was doing, honestly, when I first started. I mean, I'd already had 20 years in the profession, but I had questions like, how's leadership different from supervision? Is it different? How do you coach them instead of stand in front of a room and train them? And so there's a whole host of questions. And fortunately for me, as I've always, in my career, I've been one to, what is it? Don't seek permission, apologize. So I just sort of went with it. and no one stopped me. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal experience.
Well, what I love about the summit too over the years is Lisa and I have brought in speakers that are from outside the industry. So just yet another perspective. And it kind of normalizes the work that we've been talking about. I mean, going back to the days when we brought Tom Amell, the CEO of a bank, in, and people are like, well, why would you bring the CEO of a bank in? And he talks about, how he created a line around the building of new applicants for an entry-level position. And his story about how envious he is of like what we have, the opportunity to make such a difference in someone's life. He's like, you have EMS, you see people on sometimes their worst day can make such a difference. All I have is banking. And I just remember that standing out. And here's the CEO of a $1 billion a year, actually now $2 billion a year organization, talking about, what opportunities we have as an industry and the perspective he brought. So Bill, again, thanks for chiming in and being here during this kickoff, and we're happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
I will just say that, in addition to the EMS Leadership Academy, I also do a lot of work in other industries. And like Bill said, and like everyone said, the same issues are everywhere. It's not just EMS. And, obviously there's different components to every industry, but also every industry thinks no one's like them. I worked with a team of engineers and they were unique, and I worked with a team of folks at a nonprofit organization. Oh, nobody has the problems we have. These are human problems. These aren't, we're not talking about widgets here. We're talking about human beings. And as Dr. David said earlier. So I think, Bill's presentation and so many of the presentations are pointing to the human factor that so often gets lost when people are talking about these issues and how to create a system that people thrive. And that's really what, Robbie, you and I started this organization 15 years ago, the EMS Leadership Academy, based on that. What would happen if we created organizations where people thrive?
Yeah, where they're not so mired in their problems and in their own way. And if they could intentionally design a future that got other people excited about it, focusing on the future rather than focusing on the past, like they're driving, looking through the rearview mirror. So
exactly,
exciting times. Bill, thanks for being here. Any final remarks or thoughts on looking forward to this week with the
I just the thing that came to mind when I was listening to the other speakers was, personal thing is, back in 2020, just as COVID broke, I ended up having a major medical episode. It was a brain bleed, and my wife was struggling with whether to call the EMS because it was COVID. Nobody knew it was safe. It was the beginnings of COVID. And that's always the way I sort of told the story from my perspective. Like she was afraid, I was afraid to have people in our house, but I never thought about it until tonight, from the professional's perspective. They had to come into our house, in the face of, and so for me, it's just an incredible example of the dedication of the professionals, and so it's obviously not a lack of commitment. It's just fine tuning it. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what opens up over the course of this week.
Yeah. And we're thankful and happy that you're still here with us today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Duncan, I actually wanted to bring in another academic person, Mick Gunderson. Mick, welcome back to the EMS Leadership Summit. Thanks for being here. We mentioned earlier before you hopped off, but the editor of the International Journal of Paramedicine, as we were talking about one of the hats that you wear, and curious to hear what you're excited about for this week as we launch the next 5 days of these talks.
Well, I need a lot of hats to keep this head warm, so I have a lot of them available to me. But no, I really look forward to this because the diversity of speakers and their backgrounds I really like, particularly when they're people from outside of EMS. You know, you're mentioning the anecdote about the banking. I think very often we as a discipline are guilty what I refer to as intellectual inbreeding. We tend not to look outside of our own discipline for other ideas and input, which I think is very unhealthy intellectually. And you know, I often have been counseling my consulting clients to look outside of EMS, like for quality managers in industries that are much mature in their journeys in quality at the individual practitioner level. You know, somebody who's been doing this a long time, say with a manufacturing sector or something like that, particularly in high tech, where they live, eat, and breathe statistical process control charts and all that very nerdy quality management stuff, and bring all of that depth of experience into EMS. And in other aspects as well. So it's the diversity of the speakers that I think is really one of the healthiest, most beneficial thing. And I just hope the people attending have a sense of that and don't see the people from outside the discipline of why the heck would I want to listen to a banker sort of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's how Robbie and I first met, was because he was willing to look outside the industry, and someone had handed him my card, and he's like, okay, I need help. So, and
Willing
that's
to give
how,
it a try, right?
yeah, I mean, I was completely outside of EMS. I mean, I had a very, very small background. I had an EMT certificate when I was in college, but and I worked in child protective services, which has some parallels, but thank goodness, Robbie, that you reached out, because that's why the EMS Leadership Academy exists.
Yeah, well, with having gone to EMT school, at least you could spell EMS, which sometimes is something that some people have absolutely no clue about what we do, other than seeing us driving down with lights and sirens and getting in their way or causing traffic jams. But also to this issue of outside our industry, we're going to be talking about the whole AI thing, and I'll be focusing on my swim lane about how I see that impacting EMS. Unfortunately, an awful lot of AI lessons we're taking are from outside our industry. And, obviously AI wasn't grown in EMS, although we have had machine learning and algorithms embedded in EKG equipment, telling us STEMI, non-STEMI, deployment planning. There's been some of the precursors to artificial intelligence, if you will, with machine learning rather than large language models. So it's not entirely foreign to us. But I think, again, looking outside of EMS for how other industries are using AI tools to inform their decision-making and their daily workflows, I think is extremely instructive, and a lot of lessons for us to learn. I think we're all going to end up being at one level or another prompt engineers as part of our job descriptions. I see this in the future is you'll see necessary qualifications, must be able to write great prompts, right?
So true. Mick, can you tell us a little bit about the International Journal of Paramedicine? What are you excited about with that that entire publication that you've resurrected over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so the resurrection part was dating back to the early 2000s when NEMSMA was first started. It kind of emerged out of a national quality management organization. And we started publishing a journal that I was the editor for called the EMS Management Journal. But there were several business-related issues that forced us to have to suspend publication, unfortunately. And so I've always wanted to come back and reboot. And so that's what the International Journal of Paramedicine represents, as a reboot, if you will, of the EMS Management Journal that NEMSMA started back in the 2000s. But one of the things that's I'm very proud of as a differentiator is, of course, we accept peer-reviewed empirical research studies on clinical medicine. But one of the things we really want to try to emphasize are scholarly works and research studies that are not clinically related. For example, what might we try to learn from trying different methods of deployment? There was a manuscript we published from some Japanese engineers about the physics and issues with stretcher tipping, for example. So that's something we're really trying to do, is emphasize a lot of the non-clinical aspects in the research we publish. And we also have a number of sections that are scholarly writing or scholarly discourse, if you will, that are not really research in their nature. We started a section with the last issue where we were doing a Socratic debate. And a Socratic debate, in contrast to a competitive debate, is the competitive debate. We're trying to identify the winning and losing team, the winning and losing argument. But in a Socratic debate, the objective is to fully explore both sides of an argument, and having the people participating in debate, very rigorously, defend their positions and assertions, and then let the viewer, armed with that information, be able to come to their own conclusions and decide how they want to take action on that. And we're now working on something very similar in nature that is going to be what's called a Socratic dialogue. And in a Socratic dialogue, we have a fictionalized case scenario, if you will, and we will be having people playing characters that are in the same role as their role in real life. And the objective of the Socratic dialogue is to understand the thinking and rationale that people have behind their decision making. And you've got a real scoop here. I'm going to tell you what our first Socratic dialogue is going to be about. It's going to be about the underfunded EMS system. Ooh. And we will have people playing the role of a fire chief, a private ambulance service, county commissioners, people from the insurance agency, government regulatory standpoints, et cetera, kind of peeling the onion, if you will, on how people are trying to cope with this whole issue of the cost of readiness versus the cost of response, EMS as a essential service, all of those issues, and what's going on in that county commissioner or city manager's head when they consistently see revenues not meeting expenses, but they're not providing subsidy. What do they expect the agency to do, and how have they been coping with it, with putting off replacing units and holding back on raises and all of these kind of thorny issues? We want to get inside people's heads through this Socratic dialogue and get a better understanding of different people's perspectives and what their thinking is. So these are the kinds of things we're trying to do with the journal, is expand the scope of scholarly discourse and thought in our discipline. And the mental image I have in my head with this is, what if the Harvard Business Review and the New England Journal of Medicine had a love child in EMS? What would that look like?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I love this upcoming preview of the discussion that's going to happen. It is definitely a hot button issue, and I'm glad that you're going to be exploring it from this perspective and then publishing the results in this in the journal. So
yeah, so we'll do this on video. And
okay.
Then we will take the full transcript of the video, just like we did with the debate, and then that goes in the pages of the journal, so it can be fully indexed and retrievable on literature searches and all of that. But something we're going to do with this, like we did for the debate, is then I line up a whole host of subject matter experts to watch the video and read the paper ahead of time. And then we go on the NEMSMA listserv, and I'll say, Duncan, at 11 o'clock, on Tuesday, I'm going to introduce you and ask you for your comments about what you saw or read about in the Socratic dialogue. Do that with a number of different people to kind of jumpstart a conversation about this on the NEMSMA listserv. Wow. And we're using the NEMSMA listserv as kind of a more 2026 version of the vastly underused letter to the editor feature that journals have had. There's not nearly enough activity, I think, in the letters of the editor. It's intended to be a platform for debate and discussion about the papers that have been published. And so given that that's been kind of a sluggish thing for people to embrace, we're just going to put it on social media, where it doesn't seem we have a shortage of people willing to make a comment about things.
There's no shortage of opinion on social media. And one thing that the NEMSMA list server usually doesn't even require is a jump start, because you put one topic out there and it is amazing that NEMSMA list server, how many people will reply with sample policies and perspectives. And that's what I love about that NEMSMA list server. So if you're not already a member, nemsma.org to get your membership, get on that listserv, and it will be very interesting to watch for this dialogue and what's to come.
Yeah.
Final thoughts as we wrap up here, Duncan and Mick. What you're looking forward to this week as we approach this issue of burnout, and Duncan, we'll have you go.
Yeah, look, it was very interesting hearing what Mick was saying earlier about looking for things external, and Lisa saying that as well. I know in 2012 when I did my MBA, like within my organization, most of the senior managers didn't even have a bachelor, let alone a master's level. And I remember them looking at me going like, what on earth have you got that for? You're like a bit of an outsider doing that. When now, I mean, it's more common practice. Fast forward, what are we, like 14 years later? So yeah, it's cool to sort of hear other people around the world sort of highlight those same issues. As we said earlier, it doesn't matter where you are, we're still singing off the same song sheet, no matter which part of the world we live in. But yeah, it's always great catching up and looking at people external to see how you can improve. I know from a couple of services I've worked with, clinical governance is often a thing that's sort of done okay, but it's sort of tripping along the way as they go, where those organizations that might bring in a clinical governance expert from nursing or from medicine or areas where it's more established than frontline EMS, it then enables an expert to sit down and help the CEO, for example, or chief, contextualize it for their needs. There's someone that actually knows how to do it, as opposed to someone that's sort of tripping over it or making it up as they go. So yeah, governance, I think, is another great example of things that you can bring from an outside organization to really help improve structure and processes within EMS too.
Wonderful. Duncan, always great to have you here.
Likewise.
Thanks for being here again. And,
no worries.
and final remarks, Mick.
Yeah, on the burnout issue, I'm particularly interested to see what facets of the speakers may touch on not just the burnout of the frontline clinicians, but the managers and leaders, because they have their issues to deal with as well. And I think it's already been brought out many times that oftentimes it isn't as much the clinical, exposure to the blood and guts sorts of things that can cause moral injury. Sometimes it's things that are inflicted by the management team with, Mickey Mouse policies and, inconsistent management and leadership practices, et cetera, that contributes to an awful lot of stress in employees. And so given that, there's also the stress that the leaders and managers themselves are having to deal with the levels above them and the levels below them. So there's plenty of stress to go around that we all need to manage. So I'm hoping we get into some of it at the leadership and management levels as well.
Yeah, that is one part that you point to that Scott Moore has brought up in his Newton 360 American Ambulance Association annual survey. And not only have they quantified over the years of the cost of the financial cost of turnover for frontline employees, but also the financial cost of turnover for those mid-level managers and higher executives that could be upwards of 200 to 400% of their annual salary. And that's just the financial aspect. Not to mention what's the toll on a training manager that's constantly training people to the entry level and getting burned out because they're trying to train people as quickly as they come out the door, they're leaving. So certainly there's a toll across the whole organization. So any strategy where an organization can recognize, how do we look from a systems perspective to stop the high turnover rate and to focus on, clinical excellence and rather than just, clinical competence, and certainly address those burnout issues at the management level.
Yeah, I don't know if people have coined this term. Maybe we're hearing it here first, but I kind of think about it like EMS friendly fire casualties.
Yeah, absolutely. Mick, it's always great to have you on and your perspective. I want to thank you for putting this session together this week, and your session will be featured day number 4. So we're excited to have you on this Friday, and thanks for being here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mick.
All right, folks. Well, we are beyond the hour we said we would take, but that always happens, doesn't it, Lisa?
Well, our kickoff session usually goes a little longer because we have so many things to cover.
Yeah.
And we definitely want to let people know that you can get your free pass. And actually, we've released day 1 sessions early. So you don't have to wait till 8 a.m. tomorrow. You actually have a little extra time. But every day of the summit, you'll get with a free ticket, you'll get an email at 8 a.m. with all the links to that day's presentation. So if you want to go ahead and cover tomorrow's lineup, which people can get today.
Absolutely. So in the playbook, we're gonna skip over here to
page 10, I think.
There we go. That's easier.
Or that's better, probably.
So tomorrow's lineup, you heard tonight from Lillian Bonsignor, the prior chief of EMS operations that was retired and came out of retirement to be the 37th fire commissioner for FDNY. So we're excited to have that interview with her to talk about, over 1.6 million EMS responses in the city of New York, and really what they're facing from a systemic workforce challenge issue, and how they're going to tackle some of these issues. And we're excited to watch what happens in New York City. There's, I think, some great lessons to be learned. We have Azabel Montez. It's always great to hear Azabel talk in his sessions about leadership. He's so passionate about the topic, and he's seen a lot of different systems throughout the country. Him and Scott Moore actually just hosted the Clarity Summit and in an in-person conference that they hosted. And again, it's always great to have Azabel back with his perspective on engagement and leadership. And he's out with a recent book himself. So the first book, and we're excited to have him and Scott Moore. I mean, every time I have an opportunity to listen to Scott, I learn something new, and talk about an engaging speaker that has both frontline experience, management experience, and then became an attorney. All of those systems out there dealing with issues in our industry. So WMK Law Firm, we're happy for him to be back talking about HOPE, the EMS leader's new 4-letter word.
I love that title, and I love that presentation. I think it's such an essential conversation. It's easy to get discouraged, and everybody has every right to whatever feeling they're having. But the way he lays out the possibility of hope, and I frankly just loved what he brought to the table again. Every year, his presentations are just so so valuable.
And then there's Ray Bereshansky joining in with a whole keynote masterclass on using a SWOT analysis on yourself. And how do you really take that framework of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and how do you use it to develop your own emotional intelligence and awareness of where you want to be in your leadership journey in your career, whether you're a frontline provider or you're in a management or leadership role right now. We see everyone as the potential to be a leader. And that's what we love about Ray, bringing that perspective in. I mentioned Andrew Halter's presentation. I was blown away. Him and I had several conversations about, how could we structure a presentation as bringing that perspective as an organizational psychologist. But boy, did he deliver on the systems level things that can be done in an organization. And here's somebody that's in a position of leadership in a public health role with a very large organization, a large budget. And he's taking his experiences of being in EMS as well as that organizational psychology. And I think he knocked it out of the park. So really excited about day number 1 session. Those sessions are all available right now. Head on over to the EMS Leadership Summit, emsleadershipsummit.com. And you can click on the virtual exhibitor hall, click through day number 1, and you'll be able to watch each of these sessions. You have 24 hours for each day, and we're opening up day 1 a little bit early. So each day you'll have about 24 hours to watch those sessions, and they will be unlocked. You can upgrade to an all-access pass for a small fee and have lifetime access to all these speaker sessions. You create your own leadership library, as we like to say, and also access NEMSMA approved continuing education credits. So if you're interested in pursuing a credential in EMS, definitely check out NEMSMA's credentialing opportunity. They've got a supervising paramedic officer, a managing paramedic officer, and the fellow the American College of Paramedics executives as a fellow designation and certification through NEMSMA. So all of these credits do count if you upgrade for that small fee.
Not to mention, like you said, having a library. I mean, obviously, if you're able to watch all 5 sessions in the 24-hour period, that's great. But how often do you might want to be, I want to see that again. And I want to, have someone, talk about it with someone. And that way you can go back and see them time and time again at your convenience. That's another advantage of the lifetime access.
And that price will increase after the summit is over. So make sure you take advantage of that special offer this week while the summit is here. Check out all of our virtual exhibitor booths, what they have to offer. We didn't even get to cover some of our other booths, but we'll come back to those tomorrow. There's a lot of opportunities here, and make sure you're signing up for our Lunch and Learn if you're interested in these 2 topics this week. They will be live Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, and Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions, do a Q&A. We'll be in a Zoom room. And for the first 100 people who register and show up for those Lunch and Learns, you'll get a $20 Grubhub food voucher, and lunch is on our sponsors. So special thanks to BD, that's Pyxis by MedBank, and special thanks to VR Patients folks as well.
And I will say, I've been watching those registrations fly in, so don't delay. If you want to be part of the first 100 and get your Grubhub gift card, do not delay. Sign up. And we'll be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we'll have for day number 1, and we'll have a couple of our speakers with us, and we will be taking live Q&A. We also have some questions that were emailed to us from people, so we'll have some of those too available as well. So you do not want to miss our daily debriefs. I love the summit so much, but I really love our daily debriefs.
Yeah, people get to bring their questions. We get to pose them to our panelists and really hear even more perspectives on how to tackle some of these challenges that people are facing. All right, folks. Well, it's been an exciting kickoff. Happy 7th year EMS Leadership Summit number 7. We're happy to kick off day number 1. And folks, you can still spread the word. Tell people to head over to emsleadershipsummit.com to get their free pass. And they can check out all the sessions this week that our speakers have put together and that we've put so much work into.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Robbie. You're amazing.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. And we'll talk to you, everybody, soon.